Ask the girl and wipe away the dead.
As of the making of this video, BioShock Infinite is almost 12 years old. Made by Irrational Games, the studio that developed the original BioShock, the game was directed by Kevin Levine. Now, unlike BioShock 2, which had very little time for development, BioShock Infinite had quite a lot of time. The development started sometime after BioShock 1, in 2008. Despite the time and access to resources, the development was anything but smooth. The plot and even the setting went through a lot of changes. There were concerns if it will ever be finished. There are some rumors that some devs had to work overtime in order to get the game done so that it can release on time. And a lot of content was cut because they had to deliver the game in the given time window. Despite these challenges, the game released to widespread acclaim. It sold over 11 million units by 2015. It has aged incredibly well in my opinion. It does not look nor feel like it came out in 2013 at all. The graphics still look gorgeous, art direction is fantastic, and the gameplay is very smooth. The amazing soundtrack really makes it stand out as well. The choir, Will the Circle Be Unbroken, is really special and moving. So moving in fact that I even listen to it now. The ever-confusing plot is still very memorable despite the many loopholes. The introduction of the multiverse theory, and in particular its implementation in the game, made it a very confusing title for some. I, for one, have always had a soft spot for the game, and I do think the story is brilliant, though like I said, very confusing, especially when you finish the game for the first time. Sure to leave you scratching your head trying to put the pieces together after you finish it, but I kind of like things like these. Maybe that's the reason I love it so much. Moving on from Rapture, the game is set in the flying city of Colombia, founded by Zachary Hale Comstock, a religious leader and self-claimed prophet who apparently has an incredible gift to see the future. Colombia was the new Eden founded by him to serve his vision. Visually, Colombia is the polar opposite of Rapture. It is bright, colorful, and sunny. It is honestly one of the most immersive and good-looking settings in gaming history. The bright skies and the sunny yet unsettling atmosphere of Colombia makes it a very memorable setting. But Colombia is not the utopia it seems. After about an hour and you start to see the dark secrets of Colombia under the disguise of an apparent bright and perfect city. Colombia is a white supremacist state plagued by racism and driven by the lies of Comstock and co. Social hierarchy is very prominent and racism is one of the driving themes of the game. Founded in 1890s, Colombia was originally a part of the USA, but in 1902 it seceded. Historically, racism was very prominent at that time, despite the ongoing modern progression. The game does not hold anything back in the display of racism. Everyone other than the Caucasians, even the Irish, are treated very poorly and always looked down upon in Colombia. They are hired mostly to get cheap labor. They are only allowed to do low-end jobs, and a fair chunk of them are left to starve. This is apparent in Shantytown. Zachary Hale Comstock, the founder of Colombia, despite claiming that he was a prophet, is the leading cause of this divide. His vision of a pure state and Eden in the sky has no place for people other than the whites. There is one founders affiliated organization, Order of the Raven, operating in Colombia, who are unbelievably racist. Their motto is, "We dare to defend our homeland." Their purpose is to preserve the order of racial purity, to make sure the whites stay on top. They even view John Wilkes Booth as a saint, the guy who assassinated Abraham Lincoln. Naturally, there is a resistance to this regime. A faction called Vox Populi, who are led by Daisy Fitzroy, are starting to stand up to the regime of Comstock. There is a lot of propaganda going on in Colombia to promote ultra-nationalist views, even going as far as indoctrinating children from a young age to make them serve in the military. Well, once you look under the superficial layer of heaven showcased by Colombia, it is a dark and disturbing place. The place is so disturbing, in fact, that by the end of the game, Adam addicts do not sound that bad. It was always going to be difficult to follow up an iconic setting like Rapture, but Irrational Games did a very good job with this one, and the result is a very memorable setting. The story of BioShock Infinite is very complex, at least in the first playthrough. Whether it is good or not, that depends on who you're asking. I personally love it. I'm aware that some people think it is too messy, to each their own. In BioShock Infinite, you get to play as a man named Booker DeWitt. Booker DeWitt is not a silent protagonist unlike Jack and Subject Delta from the previous games. He has this distinct mercenary type personality. Booker DeWitt needs to settle a debt with some men he claims are not the kind of men you want to be in debt to. Dangerous men. They offer to let their debt go if he rescues a girl from Colombia. Booker takes the job reluctantly and makes his way there. That girl is Zachary Hale Comstock's daughter, Elizabeth. Comstock, who claims to be a prophet, is aware of the arrival of Booker DeWitt beforehand. He even knows that Booker DeWitt has AD tattooed on his right hand. That is the mark of the false shepherd, the person who he says will lead his heir, Elizabeth, astray. Comstock knew he was coming and apparently knows a lot about Booker's past struggles, his addictions, his battles, his debt, and even Anna, a woman who seems to be very close to Booker. He tries his best to stop Booker but fails, to an extent. Elizabeth was kept in a tower, locked away. She was being raised so that she could take over the reins when the time was right and fulfill Comstock's vision. Booker does manage to get to her and breaks her free and convinces her to go with him by telling her that he is taking her to France. You see, Elizabeth was a big fan of France. Quite an artistic individual she was, very much into singing and dancing and reading books. Anyway, when she learns that Booker is playing her, she does break free from him. Booker gets caught up in the revolutionary fight of the Vox Populi. Elizabeth is being pursued by Comstock. Both ultimately need each other and form an alliance. There are a lot of questions you ask through the game. How does Comstock know so much about Booker? How can Elizabeth travel through dimensions? Why was she kept in a tower? Why do the weird twins always show up when you are at a loss? What was so bad that Booker did in the past that is obviously carrying a strain on him? These questions are answered, but not in a clear-cut manner. The game a lot of the time just points you in the direction and you have to connect everything yourself. Eventually you do that. But there are a lot of loopholes, and logic is not consistent throughout the game. Well, normally the story is simple enough, right? Man goes to a dangerous place, fights dangerous people, and manages to save the girl he's after, and they live happily ever after. Well, no sir, not in BioShock Infinite. You see, there is multi-dimensional travel, a wicked pair of twins, a racist industrialist, a revolution, and a big question of who everyone is and what they're not.
May I help you?
We'll be asking the questions, old man. Who are you?
You.
No, not me, you.
Yes, I am you.
Just answer the damn questions. Who are you?
I have told you.
And quantum mechanics is involved. Basically, every crazy thing possible is thrown at you in the final stretch of the game. And the sunny and bright atmosphere is replaced by a dark and gloomy one. The story as a whole is very sad and tragic. But even in the midst of this sad and tragic story, there are some very wholesome interactions in the game between Booker and Elizabeth which really showcases their unique and gradually strengthening bond. The voice acting is also very good. There's some solid character development as well, especially in the case of Elizabeth. That is both brilliant yet so sad at the same time. You witness this person who has been sheltered their whole life come to terms with the dark realities of the world. The game does give you subtle hints about what is going to happen or what has happened. And that's all I have to say about the plot. Well, I will not spoil the story in case you are a first-time player or would like to revisit it. What I will tell you in advance is that you will absolutely need to put your brain to the work after finishing the game, to put all the pieces together and figure out what just happened. I personally find the twists mind-blowing and the story brilliant. I love it very much.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Whether you like it or not will depend on you. Like it or not, you will have to acknowledge the fact that it is very memorable. Gameplay has aged incredibly well. The game, even after all this time, is very fun to play, the gunplay is really solid and the movement is really fluid. Vigors are there in the game which are basically the plasmids. You need swords to use them. They grant you superhuman abilities. Their connection with plasmids is explained in the DLC. You have a variety of them which allow for different playstyles. You can upgrade them from time to time. Some, like the bucking bronco, which can throw your enemies in the air, make combat very fun. There's a variety of weapons in the game as well. All look and feel distinct. Shotguns, rifles, machine guns, RPGs, and even sniper rifles this time. A lot of weapons are at your disposal. Upgradation of your weapons is felt in a substantial manner, makes it worth your time to invest in the upgrades. The skyhook is the melee weapon in the game. It can be used in a very fun and useful way combined with vigors like charge or undertow. With the skyhook, the game also gives you the ability to ride on skylines. Skylines, one of the means of transportation in Colombia. The ability to move around riding on a skyline is one of the most fun elements of the game in my opinion when in combat. With the help of Elizabeth, you can also get access to some weapons, kits, turrets, and even cover when you ask her to use her ability of multidimensional travel. Elizabeth occasionally helps you when you need ammo or if you are low on salts or health. She even gives you money, some coins. Booker does not have the ability to pick locks in the game. You rely on Elizabeth for lockpicking. You will occasionally find lockpicks which can be used for lockpicking to open doors or safes. Audio diaries in the form of voxophone are scattered in Colombia. They are an important element of the game like the previous ones. The unique environmental storytelling is retained. They expand more on the character lore and also on Colombia as a whole. They are still an important part of the gameplay. We also have gear in the game. It is equipped on specific parts such as head, torso, legs, and feet. Gear can be found in the form of gift packages across Colombia. They grant you some useful perks. And if you are looking for a challenge, the game gives you the 1999 mod, which is basically the hardcore mod. So a few nitpicks. One is that enemy types are not that diverse, pretty much the same enemies from start to end. There are no big boss fights. Even when getting to the antagonists and encountering them, there are no big boss fights. And the opportunity of an epic showdown with Songbird is missed at the end. It would have made an epic finale for the game in terms of combat. Other than that, gameplay is still great. You do not feel that the controls are clunky or anything like that. Everything is smooth, 100% playable, and fun. Colombia is still a breathtaking setting, and even 12 years later, its visuals are a testament to the strong art direction that has ensured its graphical longevity. The game looks splendid. It has aged so good in terms of graphics. They really nailed the atmosphere as well of a city in the sky which combines dystopia with a very unique retro feeling. Everything looks great. It did look blurry on the PS3 and Xbox 360 when it released compared to the PC port at the time. The console port which released with the BioShock collection still falls short to the PC version when played on Ultra settings, so PC Ultra is the best way to enjoy the graphics. They still look good on the PS4 and Xbox One versions though. The lighting is brilliant, one of the best ever possibly. The reflections look great, the textures can look good depending on what you are closely looking at. Some at times they show their age. The character models are very detailed and look fantastic. The character models for the NPCs can look a bit weird though. Weapon models look great and the effects also look great. Some locations within the game are sure to still take your breath away. When it came out, it was one of the most splendid looking games ever. I say you can still make a case for that claim. There is no way in which it looks 12 years old. It is not a demanding title in the slightest as well. There is no question of performance for modern systems. Even if you have relatively old systems, you will have no problem at all. You can play the game without any hiccups. To conclude, great graphics and brilliant performance. 12 years later, I still hold the game very close to my heart. In my opinion, it has aged really well. But in those 12 years, we have not seen a sequel. 2K did confirm that a new BioShock game is in the works, but there have not been many updates or details, so it does not make sense to be that excited about it yet. Maybe in another dimension it has been released already, or maybe in another dimension the complete version of BioShock Infinite was released. Well, if you are looking to try the game out for the first time or are looking to return, I 100% recommend this game to you. I feel like this is a game everyone has to try at least once. With this, I would like to say goodbye. I hope you enjoyed and take care.